want to say from the outset that objections haven't caused the housing crisis. So let's get that out here. It has not caused the housing crisis. Objections. The running down of the planning authorities and the failure to recruit them and provide resources has been significant. But I'm tired of that narrative. I wish to support the motion and also the amendment tabled by People Before Profit. I have spoken on this subject every time I've got the opportunity, and I want to thank Sinn Féin for tabling the motion since 2016. And I do so not with any wish to embarrass the government or criticise the government, but simply because it's an obscenity what has been allowed to happen in relation to housing. And our housing crisis has now become embedded with the consequences that have been set out in that motion, with huge implications for services, education, healthcare, social care. I know of Gardaí, and we fought a battle to get them assigned to the Gaeltacht, but there's no place to live. So it's an absolute obscenity. And any wise government would say, what is wrong here? But what has happened is it's become embedded, and it's like collateral damage in a war. The policy continues to rely on the market at every stage with every assistance given, and the collateral damages that we're now standing here in the Dáil with 12,827 people accessing homeless services, 8,923 adults and 3,904 children. And these do not include people sleeping rub, or the hidden homeless, or the women who have sought refuge because of domestic violence. Now tell me that your policy is working, honestly, with that consequence. Not to mention the cost of the homeless service, not to mention the use of staff and all of that. And still, no government will stand here and tell us we got it wrong, our policy is wrong. The Department of Housing for Galway on the 18th to the 24th of September told us there were 256 adults homeless in Galway City and County. Simon, who do a quarterly report called Locked Out of the Market, and the significance of it is in its title, and they've been doing it for years, and they take a snapshot 3 consecutive days. Galway, 27 properties, only 27 properties available nationally in the discretionary or the standard rate. Galway City Centre, 1 property. Minister, the main game in town is HAP, and 1 property is available in Galway within the HAP limits. Within the city suburbs, there were none available within the HAP. The rents in Galway, the average rents rose by 10.7% in the 12 months to Q2 of this year. This was the seventh consecutive quarter of double-digit increases. Galway City, the average rents rose by 12.2%. Galway County by 21.4%. Just listen to that, Minister, now. You know, what do we do with facts like that? If we had a little wisdom, we might say, there's something seriously wrong here, which began when HAP was placed on a statutory footing back in 2013 or 14 after it was rolled out on a pilot project, and when we as councillors in Galway City were told that is the only game in town. That was the terminology used. I'm simply looking around to see if my colleague is coming. That was the only game in town, HAP. And now, between HAP, long-term leasing, and RAS, we're given over £1 billion per year into the pockets of landlords. And once again, I say I'm not here to condemn landlords. We need landlords. But they need to be balanced by government policy, where the government has a central role in the provision of public housing on public land. And we have singularly failed to provide public housing on public land. And we have ridiculous comments being made by TDs that it's objectors that are causing the problem. We have a narrative from the government that we're against everything on this side. Let me come to the Help to Buy scheme that you continuously put into your narrative. That's wonderful. Let me just tell you about the Help to Buy scheme with the various. It was introduced in 2016, came operational in January 17. It has been renewed repeatedly to be a temporary measure. 17, we're now in 2023. There was enhanced rules and letting people in to get a higher amount of money and so on. Mazars, according to the Mazars review, the scheme is poorly targeted with respect to incomes, location, house prices and other socio-economic factors. The problems that it sought to address remain, and the specific market failure at which it was targeted are not likely to be addressed by proposed new initiatives. The sort of policy uncertainty that has arisen with ongoing annual extensions without a clear picture of the long-term policy is undesirable, and the very best kept for the last. A rational approach would not design the scheme as it currently exists. And of course they say to abolish the scheme, but not now. Let us sin and worry about it later, but it should be scrapped. Then there are various other reports and reviews. The ESRI, 13th of October this year, referring to the extension of the Help to Buy in the budget. Given the robust demand for housing combined with long-standing supply constraints, it is likely that these demand-side policies will increase demand for housing, putting pressure on house prices. The ESRI, February 21, a review of the scheme suggests that many households with large deposits have received support under the scheme. I never hear you, or the Taoiseach or the Taoiseach, when they talk about the Help to Buy, referring to any of these facts. Parliamentary Budget Office, overview of the Help to Buy scheme. 1/3 of the recipients did not need Help to Buy to meet 10% deposit, and so on. And then we have a narrative about judicial reviews, how they're holding up everything. And that narrative has preceded the introduction of the new planning bill. And what do we know about that? The planning regulator, he highlighted that judicial reviews are a small problem in the planning system, and he gives the specific figures where judicial reviews are not a problem, and so on and so on. And so what you have done is created a monster in relation to the market that has utterly failed to provide, and I could count out 10 or 11 schemes that you've brought in to bolster the market. So we have a jigsaw with no overall picture of how we're going to stop over the homelessness that we have, or how we will provide homes for our people. And then on top of that, we have Galway City that has any amount of public land, and I'm going to repeat it for the record. The Docks has acres of land. Kent Station, right in the centre of town, acres of land. Sandy Road, Headford Road, not enough, but acres of public land. And what have we done, Minister? We are proceeding without any overall plan for the common good. And we're allowing the Docks, through a company which is ostensibly the company holding it for the people of Galway, we're letting them develop there on their own, no overall plan, no fitting in. And what do they want to develop? Premium housing. Not public housing, premium housing. And then we go to Kent Station, public land for the public good being developed, not for the public good. Similarly, Sandy Road, the Land Development Agency, have been there, I don't know how long now, with no progress. And what I'm asking for, in the middle of all of these words that I use continuously, is a recognition that we cannot proceed to rely on the market. We have to set a date for finishing the HAP payments. They have to go, they have to be scrapped. Quite clearly they can't be scrapped overnight. But our policy must be for the provision of public housing on public land, and all of the other things have to be phased out if we're seriously interested in bringing down the prices of houses. And the Help to Buy is artificially keeping them way up. And I'll finish on the failure to deal in an equal way with regional development. And it was mentioned by Deputy Kenny earlier on that towns don't have sewage systems. Carrow, I grílár na Gaeltachta. I grílár na Gaeltachta is mósa tír, agus ní léon córa séiricas, tá an tuisce lufa ag golas deach díreach san airge. Agus táid ag fannacht agus ag fannacht le córa séiricas sa Carrowrua I grílár na Gaeltachta. Carrow is a very good example, which has no hotel, the university is based there, there's no hotel, and it has raw sewage going straight into the sea. They won't thank me for saying this publicly, but that's the way it is for years. A site was picked that was totally unsuitable, and we're down 20 years down the road. In all my time as a city councillor, I'm listening for plans for a sewage treatment. So no balanced regional development can take place in the county, nor within the city, on the east side of the city, where the city council still has not progressed a sewage treatment on that side of the city. So I don't blame officials for this. I think people within the department are working very hard. Where I do lay the blame is on the successive governments and this one, which had a chance to do it differently, because you have the money and all we wanted was a different vision and we all would have worked with you.